We want to thank you for being here. We know that you're here because you loved my dad, and my dad loved you. So everybody that's in here is very special. I'm trying really hard not to cry, but if it happens, just give me a minute and I will regroup. Okay. So you guys know me. I'm Rachel, or as my dad always called me, Lum. I've always been a daddy's girl. When I started thinking about what I wanted to say today, I realized that my dad's story didn't just begin with him. It really began with my grandmother. My dad was born in Mississippi, where he lived on a farm with his family. At a time when opportunities were limited, my grandmother made an incredibly brave decision. She left Mississippi on her own and moved to Chicago to build a better life. Once she was settled, this is your great grandmother, Mason. Once she was settled, her parents brought her, she sent for my dad and my Auntie Dot to join her. That courage became part of who my dad was. As an adult, he made his own decision. He moved, he left the west side, where all of his family settled, to move around to Old Town, because he wanted to live in a more diverse community where he believed he could continue to grow and build the life he wanted. Like his mother before him, he believed that sometimes you have to leave what's familiar to find what's possible. That determination was always part of him. But if you ask me, what I remember most about my dad, it wouldn't be where he lived or what he did for a living. It would be the little things. My dad spent most of his adult life as a professional driver. And if you ever rode in the car with him, you knew, don't tell him how to drive. And he would always say, let the driver drive. And he said it with confidence, and he would also say, I'm a professional. And the funny thing is, he really was. He took so much pride. Thanks, Kenny, Uncle Kenny. Okay. Sorry, Juan, we'll explain later. He took so much pride in his driving, and honestly, I never felt safer than when my dad was behind the wheel. I still remember his gold Chevrolet Caprice with the cream interior. I always sat in what I called my seat in the front. It wasn't until years later that I realized my seat was not a seat, it was the armrest. So thank you to the 1970s. It was awesome. Yes. Woo-hoo. Can I get a hell yeah for the 1970s? Okay. Those rides with my dad are some of my favorite memories because he had this incredible gift of turning the simplest moments into adventures. He'd have us counting gremlins. Anybody remember those cars? The gremlins? As we drove around the city. Believe it or not, back then there were a lot of gremlins. Yeah. We'd walk through the park and he'd point up into the trees and call the bird's nest condos. To this day, I can't see a nest without looking up and smiling and saying, look at those condos. That was my daddy. When we'd walk anywhere, we'd also look down because my dad believed you never knew what you might find. One day in an airport, right, Dee Dee? One day in an airport parking lot, he said, hey, Rach, what's that? There was a $5 bill lying on the ground. That's right. Now, he absolutely saw it first. He could have picked it up himself, but instead he let me discover it. He let me believe I had found treasure. And back then, $5 could buy a whole lot of candy, and that's what I did with it. Looking back now, I realized that wasn't really about the money. It was about giving me the joy of discovery. That's who my dad was. He found ways to make ordinary moments feel extraordinary. He also never really outgrew being a kid himself. When I was little, we'd watch Mighty Mouse together. Anybody remember Mighty Mouse? Okay. Years later, we'd still laugh watching King of the Hill. You know that, Dee Dee, over and over and over. He loved Bobby and Boomhauer, and we would crack up together.
That's real funny, man.
Thank you for that. Do you want speaking of years later, I can't continue without talking about someone who shared so many of those years with him and with me, and that's Dee Dee. Now I'm gonna cry. For most of my life, when I thought of my dad, I thought of Dee Dee too. While I am so shit. Well, okay. I don't know if I can read this. Amanda, do you want to read it? Come here.
Oh, God.
Just come read the Dee Dee part. Just read here. Where? Start right here.
Dee Dee, you never treated me like, it's a lot of reading. But I'm so grateful that my mom and dad met and that I was given the gift of being his daughter. I am equally grateful that Dee Dee and my dad found each other. Their love brought so much happiness into both their lives, and it brought so much love into mine. Dee Dee, you never treated me like I was just your partner's daughter. You welcomed me as your own. Some of my happiest memories include walking to White Hen Pantry, FNF, to the store to get My Little Pony, or really just walking anywhere. We didn't need a destination. We were simply together, and somehow those ordinary moments became some of my most treasured memories. You made the best Sunday breakfasts, and somewhere between the bacon, eggs, pancakes, and toast,
And grits.
you taught me that a great breakfast isn't just about cooking, it's about timing. Everything should be ready at the same time. I still think
thought about it before. Go ahead.
I still think about that every time I cook. And then there was my loose tooth.
Okay, I got it.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you to my niece, Amanda. Good job, Amanda. On the spot. You're a good woman. Okay. All right, and then I don't know if you remember my loose tooth one time. This is when you guys lived on Spalding. I had a terrible toothache because one of my molars was barely hanging on and cutting into my gums. You calmly tied a string around it and said, we're gonna pull on the count of 3. 1, 2, and you pulled. Not 3, but 2. My tooth flew across the kitchen and landed on the stove. I think it actually went into the burner. We had to find it. I was completely shocked, but instantly relieved because the pain was gone. And Dee Dee, that was you. You knew I'd be afraid if I had time to think about it, so you spared me that anticipation. You were always taking care of the people you loved, and no one benefited from that more than my dad. Dee Dee, you loved him with patience, kindness, and unwavering devotion. You spoiled him. By the time thank you. Can I get a witness? Okay. By the time my dad was 87, he could simply sit in a chair waiting for a drink, a meal, or just about anything else, and it would magically appear. It always magically appeared because you were there. Over these last few years, I watched you care for my dad in ways that both broke my heart and filled it with gratitude. You carried so much, Dee Dee. You did everything for him, physically, emotionally, and lovingly. He was so lucky. I will never forget it. You were with him along with my Auntie Doreen when he took his last breath. Thank you, Dor. I'll never forget that either. Dee Dee, you were one of the greatest blessings of his life and mine as well. I love you so much, and I feel like I have to say this part. The only reason I don't actually call you Mom is out of respect for my own mom, but you are my mom, okay? and you know it. I'm almost done. Okay. I also want to acknowledge everyone here. Because of Dee Dee, I have come to think of you guys are family. You guys in here are my family. Thank you, Dee Dee, for loving my dad and for being, or I'm sorry, this is not to you, Dee Dee, this is to you guys. Thank you for loving my dad, you guys, and for being here today to celebrate his life. Your presence is a testament not only to the man my dad was, but to the life that he and Dee Dee built together. As I've gotten older, I've realized something about my dad. He didn't just teach me through words, he taught me by the way he lived. He showed me that courage sometimes means starting over. That work is something to take pride in, that laughter makes life better, that you should notice the little things. I'm almost done. As I've reflected over these past few weeks, I've realized something else. The courage my grandmother showed by leaving Mississippi became part of my father's story, and my father's courage became part of mine. He was resilient, he was optimistic, and he had the ability to make something special out of an ordinary day. So to my dad, thank you for every ride.
You got it, Rachel.
Thank you for every birthday dinner of crab legs. We used to do that all the time. Thank you for every game of counting gremlins. Okay, I'm regroup. Thank you for teaching me to look for condos in the trees and treasures on the ground. Thank you for making your little girl feel completely safe. Completely loved and very special. I will miss hearing you say, let the driver drive. I will miss your smile. I will miss your laugh. I will miss being your plum. But more than anything, I am grateful. Grateful that I got to be your daughter. Grateful that I got to spend a lifetime loving you. And grateful that no matter where life takes me, a part of you will always be with me. Finally, I'm long-winded. Finally, my dad and I talked about this very moment a few years ago. I asked him what he wanted to be said about him when he passed. He said with a smile, he was a good egg. So, Dad, I love you so much. You are a good egg. And I hope that you and Uncle Jesse and Eddie are at the most amazing spot catching lots of fish in heaven. So let's just give a toast to my dad.
All right. Thank you.
To Ravel. Yes, Cindy was his favorite.
That was nice, Rachel.
Thank you. And I believe, is the food ready? Okay, so yay, now we get to eat. There is chicken marsala. There is some kind of beef that Dee Dee says is delicious. There is mostaccioli. There are salads. There are vegetables. And we are so happy. So, do you want to say anything about what we need to do?
Yeah, she's gonna call the tables.
Okay.
Remain seated.
So you guys remain seated, and we're gonna call by tables. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much. I love you. This was so hard, but I did it. Yay.
Yes, the main table.
Yeah, right here. Yeah.
Yes.